In the chapter 3 part of the review, we're going to take a look at correlation, scatter plots, and linear regressions. So in our first question, we have that the price charged for a hot dog at a Major League Baseball game depends on the price charged for a 16-ounce soda. The table below gives data for 21 Major League stadiums. So what we want to do first is to identify our explanatory and response variables. So when I'm reading my problem, I notice that the price charged for a hot dog depends on the price charged for a 16-ounce soda. So that tells me that the explanatory variable is the price for a soda, and then the response is the price for the hot dog, since the hot dog price depends on the soda price. Next, what I want to do is figure out my scatter plot. So I'm going to take my data here. I inserted it into a Google Sheet, and I had my first column is the price of my sodas, and then my second column was the corresponding hot dog price. And then I created my scatter plot for that. So if I'm looking at this, there doesn't seem to be much of a relationship. It is positive, because as the price of the soda increased on average, so did the price of the hot dog. So what I'm going to do now is, using my calculator, I'm going to figure out what my correlation coefficient R is, and I'm going to discuss its strength and direction. So using the calculator, I'm putting my soda price into list 1 and my hot dog price into list 2. I'm going into calculate, I'm going to lin red because that's where it gives me R. We see that R is 0.009. So if this is one of those few cases where I could actually say there is no correlation between the two. But if I'm actually going to write one down, I'm going to say that it is very weak and it is positive, since we have a positive value. But this is one of those few cases where if I really wanted to, I could say there is no relationship. Because R is below 0.1, which is usually like the cutoff for there being a relationship at all. Typically, it's not like a rule, it's just something we usually do. I could say there's no relationship here. And then for D, we want to know what proportion of the variation in hot dog prices can be attributed to the soda cost. So remember, this is the R squared value. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take 0.009 and we're going to square it. And your calculator might give you out scientific notation, 8.1e -5. So that means is 8.1 times 10 to the -5. So if I move my decimal place to the left 5 places, we get 0.000081. So there's a very, very, very small proportion, which if I were to convert to a percentage, it would be 0.0081%. So our next example, we have that a researcher wishes to determine if the number of hours a person exercises is related to their age. And we have a table of data for 9 people. We have 9 ages, and they're not in the corresponding hours that those 9 people exercise. So again, picking out which is the explanatory and response. The number of hours the person exercises, we want to see if it's related to their age. So that tells me the age is my explanatory variable, and my response is the hours of exercise. Okay. So going back into my calculator and going into my lists, I'm going to replace list 1 with my age here and list 2 with my hours of exercise in order to calculate my correlation coefficient R. And we're going to get that R is -0.92, which is a strong and negative relationship. Now, I did expect this to be negative, since as age increases, you would typically expect the number of hours of exercising to decrease. And then it ended up being strong. 0.92 is very close to 1, which means it is a strong relationship. So using our answer in B, we want to know what proportion of the variation in age explains the number of hours of exercise. So again, this is our R squared value. So we take negative 0.92 and we square it, and we're going to get 0.85, which is an 85%. Now in part D, we want to write our least squares regression equation, so our linear regression equation. So going in using linreg, we're going to use our equation. So y equals our a value, negative 0.27x, plus our y-intercept b, 15.02. It is important here that you use at least 2 decimal places anytime you find a least squares or linear regression equation, because we want to make sure we're more accurate. So the more decimal places you use, the better off you are. So at least 2. You are allowed to use 3, but you have to use at least 2. So now we're going to do part E. We're going to complete our table of residuals. So the first part we have to find is our y hat, our predicted value for each of our ages. So what I'm going to go through here is we're going to plug in age in for x to get our predicted hours of exercise. So when I plug in 20 for x, we get out 9.62. When I plug in 26, get 8. 29 gives us 7.19. 33 is 6.11, 36 is 5.3, 44 is 3.14, we'll put that twice, 51 is 1.25, and 53 is 0.71. Now your decimals might look a little bit different if you used 3 decimal places, but they should be fairly close. Now, to calculate the residual, we take our actual number of hours exercise and we subtract from it the predicted. So remember, the residual equals the actual minus the predicted. All right, it is important you do the subtraction correctly. That way you're getting the correct sign and in some cases the correct value. So my residual for my first value is 1.38, then negative 2, 0.81, negative 1.11, 0.7, negative 0.14, negative 2.14, 0.75, and 0.29. Okay. Once we have our tables for our residuals, we want to go ahead and create our residual graph, which I did do in Google Sheets. I took all of the residuals, I put them into a table along with the age, and I had a scatter plot created. So remember, with a residual graph, you always put in the explanatory variable, and then the residual gets plotted, and you want to make sure you have that 0 line to make sure you're comparing how far away it is from 0. So if we look, I have my ages going up by 2s and my residuals going from negative 2.5 to 2.5 going up by 0.5s. You can choose however you want your axes to go up by, but you have to make sure whatever you choose, you can see that 0 for the residuals. So remember, when we're looking at a graph for our residuals, we want to make sure that our residuals are graphed randomly. As long as they're graphed randomly, it means that our linear regression equation is a good fit for our data. So I'm looking here, my residuals don't seem to form any sort of pattern. So what that tells me is my linear regression equation is a good fit for my data. And then last lastly, true or false, since there is a fairly strong correlation, we can conclude that increased age causes a person to exercise less. And this is false. Okay? The key word here that is false is the word causes. So remember, correlation does not mean causation. It just means that there is either a strong or weak relationship between those two variables. There are always other factors to consider. So there's health that to consider, there's lifestyle, there's so many other variables that can impact whether or not a person exercises, not just their age. Just because there's a strong correlation between the two does not mean that age causes you to exercise less. So that's a big thing about correlation. The second thing I did want to talk about, since it was on the Chapter 3 quiz, it is not on here, but something I wanted to address, is that correlation is heavily impacted by outliers. Remember, when we talked about the formula behind calculating correlation coefficient, it did include standard deviation. And since standard deviation is heavily impacted by outliers, that means that correlation is as well. And it does kind of make sense, because if you have a piece of data that doesn't fit the rest of it, it's kind of going to pull your correlation in a direction that's maybe not as representative of the actual values. So please let me know if you have any questions over anything from Chapter 3.